Alright guys, welcome back to Days of Darkness and welcome to my review of The Shining. This one came out in 1980. It is starring Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and Danny Lloyd, and was directed by Stanley Kubrick. Dude, there are some movies that I have, it's a list of movies that I have officially decided are very daunting tasks when it comes to reviews, especially my style of review, very casual, sit-down, conversation style. This is one of those movies, man. This movie is packed with so much amazing, awesome horror shit. I'm not gonna lead you guys on very long. If you need my recommendation, here it fucking is. And if you're in the horror movies and you haven't seen The Shining, I'm not one of those fuckers who was like, oh, you're not a real horror fan if blah, blah, blah. Nah, none of that here. But if you haven't seen The Shining, man, I will say, drop everything you're doing, drop anything you are watching, sit down, turn all the lights off in your house, turn off your fucking phone, and watch The Shining. Oh my god. This is a fucking masterpiece. I'm gonna spoil my eventual video, but I say this some other times too, but I'll say it here. If I ever make a top 10 horror film list, which will be very daunting. I've attempted it before, but I'm not really happy with how it turned out. But if I ever do it again, this film will be on that list. And for anyone wondering, yes, it already was on the first attempt to make a list like that. But, good God, this movie is a fucking masterpiece. There's no question about it. Stanley Kubrick is a guy who, and you know, Lord rest his soul, Stanley Kubrick is a guy who was a perfectionist in every sense of the word. And with that comes the bad parts of being a perfectionist, which, you know, everyone knows the stories of him doing like 87 takes of a certain scene. And this is in all movies that he's done, not just The Shining. He just did that shit, you know? And it pays off, you know? People will say what they will. Oh, it's, you know, cruel and unusual and all of this stuff, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But at the end of the day, man, if this is the type of product we get from that, fine. Fine, fucking go for it, man. Good God, this, I just don't know what else to say. And, you know, I think really a strong suit of this movie, you know, this movie doesn't have any real weak points to me. I'll say that. I don't think any film's perfect. I've said that multiple times. You can always nitpick little shit with anything. But good God, man. To me, the characters are the big standout, especially the big three in this movie being, you know, Wendy, Jack Torrance, and Danny. Those three characters, the performances by each of them. And I know some people like to say, oh, Jack Nicholson overacts in the movie. I don't think so, personally. And I know, you know, Shelley Duvall really doesn't get enough credit for her role in this. I think she puts on just as good of a performance as fucking Jack Nicholson in certain regards. Because while Jack's job is to be a fucking maniac and a psycho in a lot of this movie, her job is to be just scared out of her fucking mind and just terrified. And literally, like, just almost going crazy in her own way, you know? And I think she just does it immaculately. And then, obviously, Danny Lloyd, you know, people will say whatever they will about child actors, but I think he just fucking knocked it out of the park in this, you know? We'll get all into it, man, but all three of them are just absolutely fucking incredible. And when you have them, also shout out to Scatman Crothers as well, playing Dick Halloran. Another amazing performance. I love him in this. And, you know, all the other side characters do great too. So when you have all of that, and you have an amazing director, and you have an amazing story, that being Stephen King's The Shining, it's a recipe for success, man. And this movie succeeds on all fronts, in my opinion. You know, we'll get into it real quick. I know everyone talks about the fact that Stephen King does not like this movie, and I understand it to a certain degree. This movie does change things from the book. But to me, man, I obviously love the movie. I haven't read the book cover to cover. I've cracked it open a few times, but I've never really just, you know, ADHD's a bitch, man. I'm not the best when it comes to reading, which is ironic given that I'm a writer. but I look at my own writing differently than others, though, so it's a little different. But, you know, so I'm not in any position to be like, oh, well, in the book, you know, the book's better because of this, so the movie's better. You know, I just fucking adore this movie. You know, as a writer myself, I can understand being very protective of your work. I 100% get it. But as far as a film critique, if he's saying that this is a bad film, all respect to Mr. King, living legend of the horror industry, you are wrong. And I am very, very, very comfortable saying that. You know, if he doesn't feel like this, if he feels like this isn't a good portrayal of his work, that's one thing. But I haven't heard him say this, but if he thinks that this is just straight up a bad movie, sir, all due respect, you are wrong. I don't really find a lot of people who dislike this movie. I know there are a lot of people who have short attention spans, myself included. So if it grabs me, dude, it's doing something right. You know, I think the world of this fucking movie. There's really no other way to say it than that. And yeah, man, I'm gonna stop rambling spoiler freestyle and start rambling spoiler style. So let's go ahead and let's spoil the shit out of this motherfucker. On the spoils, but onto the spoiler section. All right, spoiler time. Your ass has been warned. I have a feeling we're gonna be here for a little while. So, like I said in the spoiler-free section, or I can't remember if I did or not. Anyways, doing a review of this film is very daunting, because there's a lot of shit packed into here. When I say shit, I mean that in the greatest way possible. Amazing shit. Incredible, beautiful, awesome shit. Anyways, and from the opening, dude, from the opening, we immediately have the tone and the theme of this movie. There are multiple themes of the movie, but I'd say it does a very good job of establishing a nice, beautiful, peaceful setting with a very, very, very dark undertone. You have just these amazing, beautiful sweeping shots of the Colorado mountains and just all of this beautiful wilderness. And it's incredibly beautiful and peaceful and tranquil. But audio-wise, you have the absolutely sinister, disturbing, amazing score in this movie. I think it is very poetic for the rest of the movie, the fact that it's just this nice, beautiful environment that is just covered in this thick layer of dread, and it happens slowly too. This is a very patient movie. This movie does not really, you know, give a fuck about short attention spans. It doesn't spoon feed the audience, which I respect. It is a very slow-paced, deliberate film. Every single scene in this movie has some sort of significance. Stanley Kubrick does not waste a shot. He does not waste a frame. And, you know, some people have said, oh, people read too much into this and yada, yada, yada. And hey, if that's your stance, fine, but fuck off. I think this movie just does everything right, you know. But moving on, I am gushing about this movie hardcore, and I'm fine with that. My foot's fucking falling asleep. Oh, that sucks. Stevie static. TV static right in the fucking foot, man. Welcome to DOD, baby. Interrupting a fucking movie review to fix your foot. Moving on. So I love the fact that when we are introduced to Jack, he is already shown to be on edge. He is a recovering alcoholic. He had a very, very unfortunate incident with Danny, his son, in the form of him having a little too much to drink and tugging on his arm too hard. And his arm just popped out of his socket. Danny's, that is, which is not fucking good. And so Jack has sworn off alcohol. And, you know, between that and his just general short-temperedness as a human being, you can tell this guy's... something about this guy already that is kind of off. Now, I know one of the things that Stephen King had a problem with is the fact that, you know, he's already crazy. I think it works. I think the fact that this guy is already... I wouldn't say he's crazy. He's just a on-edge guy. He's just a very, you know, reserved, mildly even-tempered guy. He's, you know, has a little bit of a, you know, rugged edge to him. You know, when you're getting over any type of addiction, you're going to be like that. So yeah, I love the early portrayal by Nicholson of Jack Torrance. I think he does a fantastic job. It's some of my favorite work of his in the movie. Obviously, I love later on when he's a fucking batshit maniac. But it's the subtle little things here when they're driving in the car on the way to the hotel. And bear in mind also, we are skipping over some parts of the movie. I'm sorry, this is a 2.5 hour movie. If I went over every single detail, we'd probably be here for 2.5 hours. If you want that, go watch the movie. But I love the fact that when they're driving to the hotel, the Overlook, I love just his expressions and the way he is carrying himself around his wife and around his child. Again, very... almost irritated appearance to him. Very, yeah, I would just leave it at that. He's a very, very irritated man, and he gets like a slight little grin on his face towards the end when talking about like cannibalism and all of this shit. And, you know, because his son, Danny, Wendy's like, oh, don't, you know, you're scaring him. And he goes, it's okay, Mom, I know about I know about cannibalism. I saw it on TV. Oh, you see, honey? It's okay. He saw it on the television. Or whatever he says. I'm sure I butchered that quote. But yeah, man. Just absolutely phenomenal stuff here, man. And we haven't even gotten to the hotel, and already I fucking adore this movie. But yeah, man. And then we actually get to the hotel, and... oh, wait. I have to talk about this first. I love the... you know, I've recently just watched a couple other, you know, people talk about this movie and just reading up on it a little bit. There seems to be a controversy over whether or not, you know, this movie has paranormal elements in it. And I don't understand that. I think this is a pretty blatantly paranormal film. And I love our introduction to the fact that it's paranormal. It's not anything really at the hotel. It's with Danny. Danny has something known as Dick Halloran would later name it. The name of the movie. The Shining. You know, Danny has been blessed / cursed with this ability to communicate with certain people and see things that other people can't typically see. And I love the fact that he, this movie is very much revealed to be paranormal in the early going when, you know, he's talking to Tony, his little friend. That's a horrible, I mean, I'm not a, you know, prepubescent child, so I'm not going to be able to do it perfectly, but, you know, he ties his little finger and he does this. I'm going to stop doing that now because that's making me uncomfortable. I can only imagine what it's doing to you. But yeah, just again, Danny Lloyd does incredible in this with that voice and just doing this with his, you know, finger. Moving on. So, but, you know, Tony tells him, or Danny's like, "Do you think my dad got the job?" And he goes, "He already did." Alright, and he's about to call your mom in a couple of minutes to let her know. And then sure enough, the fucking phone rings. And it's such a, there's no real big spectacle about it. You know, this is just normal shit for Danny. He just knows, you know, and then, you know, picks up the phone, business as usual. There's no big spectacle about it. But to me, that very much reveals that there's some big paranormal works at work, you know. But yeah, there's some people, I would probably say it's a minority, who just think this is not a paranormal film, and it's just people going nuts, which I personally don't believe. And obviously, the movies and books sequel, you know, Dr. Sleep, totally puts that thought to bed, because that movie's just straight up people with fucking superpowers. And we'll get into that maybe at some point. But anyways, so, but yeah, man, I love that. But then we finally get to the hotel, and again, very, very beautiful setting. I love all the tour, like all of the whole touring bunch of scenes. You know, them, the owners of the hotel and Dick Halloran taking them around the hotel and just foreshadowing. I love that long sweeping shot of, it's not the lobby, it's where Jack writes and stuff like that. They call it something. I cannot for the life of me remember what it was, but I love that beautiful, beautiful long tracking shot of them just walking across this huge room, and you get that pan past the staircase, which bears a lot of significance in the movie as well, especially in a certain scene. But I love that, and it shows all the pictures, which the pictures play an important part. It's, again, man, just everything Kubrick did for this movie, just it all makes sense, and you can tie it all together. At the same time, though, he's not going to do that for you. You're going to have to watch this movie a couple times to really, really, you know, get it. And to some people, they might sound like, oh, this movie is inaccessible. I wouldn't say that. I think you can have fun watching this movie on the first go-around. But it's when you go back a second, third, fourth, fifth time that you really, really start to notice of, oh my God, this is that thing. And yet it's one of the best examples of that type of movie. You know, I fucking love it. And while we're talking about that, let's just talk about the cinematography and the filmmaking in general real quick. Oh my God. As a film, not only a film nerd, but a filmmaking nerd, and really, really putting a lot of stock into how a film is shot and how a film is edited and how a film is just, you know, designed. Which I don't always give off that side of myself, but it is present 100%. I fucking just adore this movie from an art perspective. Again, I talked about the camera work a little bit. Just those, again, long, uninterrupted takes and shots, all just fucking beautifully done. Like the camera work and the camera movement and the things that the camera focuses on. The camera is 100% your most important tool in a film. Without the camera, you don't have a film. You can film something in just one room, and if you do it correctly, it can be enthralling. fucking movie just does it for me, man. And, you know, another perfect example of the camera work, and this is kind of during the whole touring sequence of the hotel as well, you know, when Danny is on that fucking big wheel, which big wheels are the shit. When he's riding around the hotel in that big wheel, man. And I always think, every time I watch this movie, I'm like, God, dude, that would be so much fucking fun. It's like, I would love to just take like a bike and just ride around this fucking hotel. I know it's a weird thing, but every time I see that fucking kid on that bike just having the time of his life, I'm like, holy fuck. And I love how the camera just follows him. You know, talking about sound design real quick as well. I love the fact that when he when he rides over carpet as opposed to wood floor, the sounds are very, very, very different, you know, which is realistic. And again, that's such a little thing that you really wouldn't think about. But for some reason, that, like, you know, just a... Obviously, those are horrible impressions of those sounds, but you get what I'm saying. Just two drastically different noises. I don't know. It's a little thing, but to me, I always fucking geek out about it. But again, you know, the camera following him around, riding in the hallways, and then, you know, he turns that corner, and then BAM! There's the first image of those fucking twins. Wait, is it the first image? I think it might be the second, because he's in the game room. I'm pretty sure I have that right. But yeah, he sees those twins, man, and he gets that quick shot of them being fucking, like, completely obliterated by Grady, their dad, which we don't find out till later on in the movie. But yeah, man, and, you know, come play with us, Danny, forever and ever and ever. Fucking brilliant, dude. Just fucking brilliant. Loved that whole sequence. And again, man, just in general, the whole filmmaking aspect of this movie is fucking rad. But moving on. So eventually they are just given the hotel to look after for the winter. And yeah, man, the rest of this is just a slow, plodding, patient descent into fucking madness. At first, you know, everything seems to be okay. You know, he's a little on edge as always, but it's fine. But it's just bit by bit by bit by bit. You know, I love the scene of him, you know, Wendy and Danny are playing outside in the snow. And his smash cuts to Jack, and he's just looking out the window, just staring out of the window. It's so fucking creepy. I'm not even gonna try to say what my favorite shot of this movie is, because we'll be here all fucking day. But that's one of them. Just that slow zoom shot. Just his face just fucking entranced by the outside world. Fucking beautiful, man. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. We also have when I keep wanting to call her Shelly. When Wendy comes in to let Jack know about the snowstorm, and Jack just fucking goes off on her. Like, just mean. You know, he's like, when you come in here, you're breaking my concentration. And he goes, how about a new rule? You know, when I'm in here and you hear me typing away, or if you don't hear me typing, or whatever the fuck I'm in here doing, you don't come in here, whatever he says. And she's just standing there. Again, Shelley Duvall's performance in this is fucking heartbreaking and beautiful too. I know her and Kubrick butted heads a lot during the filming of this. It's a very famous story. I don't know how I feel about that, but from what she says, she appreciates that it happened like that, because she doesn't think the performance would have been as good, and it wouldn't have come out the way it did. So I can appreciate that from coming from the horse's head instead of a bunch of horses' asses. But yeah, so she just looks so fucking distraught. And he goes, how about we get started right now by you getting the fuck out of here? Or something like that. And I'm like, God damn, dude, really? Like, holy shit. And again, it's not like he's fucking going nuts. He's not cuckoo crazy yet, but he's just, something ain't ticking in there, man. And we don't really know what, but something ain't fucking going right. Yeah, dude, just absolutely fucking great. That scene, as heartbreaking as it is, that is a really, really good scene. I love when he eventually gets to the bar. That bar scene is fucking incredible. You know, him just sitting there. He's like, I'd sell my soul for a goddamn glass of beer. And then sure enough, the bartender's there. And I love the dialogue between those two. I love, love, love. Later on, there's the whole party scene, which, again, the fact that he is seeing all of this in his head / not necessarily in his head, but I think it's more of a, obviously he's fucking nuts. There's no doubt about that. But, and we'll get into kind of the ending of this movie and how I feel about it, which I haven't really heard this take, but we'll get to it. But yeah, dude, I absolutely love, both scenes at the bar, you know, just absolutely, and you can tell, and he's, again, saying awful, awful things about his fucking wife. Like, he harbors some sort of resentment for his wife. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but he has some sort of deep-seated, like, almost hatred for his wife, which is just fucking insane to me. But yeah, we gotta talk about Room 237. It's, you know, it's one of the things foreshadowed in all the touring scenes and stuff of Dick Halloran telling Danny, he's like, you do not go into Room 237 under any circumstances. You don't fucking go in there. You don't look at anything. You don't fucking go in there. Don't go in there. You can tell Scatman Crothers, his name's fucking Dick. You can tell Dick really, really, really knows what the fuck's going on. I mean, he has The Shining, so obviously he's gonna be seeing all of this shit. If I was him, man, why the fuck are you going back there? Like, I get he works there and shit, but dude, if I was seeing that stuff, I'm not sticking around long enough to discover that I have powers. I'll find out a different way. I am fucking gone if I'm seeing some of this shit. Especially 237, man, because he is adamant. It's like, you do not go in there. You don't go in there. And then, of course, Danny being a little kid, he goes in there. And he comes out, and Shelly, Wendy is panicking and telling Jack, it's like, oh, a lady, Danny's saying a lady strangled him in Room 237, or tried to strangle him. And sure enough, Jack goes in there, and at this point, he's just fucking off it. He's pretty much gone at this point. But he goes in there, and it's this nice, you know, very, very, very attractive, naked woman. You know, she's in the bathtub, and she gets out. She's all sexy and shit, and, you know, gets out slowly and approaches him, and the two start making out. And I love when he looks in the mirror as he's kissing her, and, you know, he's caressing her body and, like, touching her ass and all this shit. And then he looks in the mirror, and it's this, like, fat, old, rotted, old woman. And he's just like, ugh. I love the way he sells it, dude. He's like, he's just fucking freaking out. He's already nuts, but it even fucking scares him, man. You know, that old lady laugh, ah, ha, 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 and then fucking Danny having the visions of the old lady in the tub. That shit actually scared me a little worse than her, you know, approaching him slowly, like, with her arms out and shit. And those scenes, those shots of her in the tub, again, like, do they have to be there? Yes, because it adds so much to it. Fucking great, great stuff there. Gross. But incredible. Incredible, incredible scare. I mentioned the party scene, which then leads to the bathroom scene with him and Grady, where Grady basically instructs him, like, yeah, dude, you gotta kill your family. Like, you know, he's complaining about how his wife and kid are behaving, and Grady is like, you know, we get the plot twist of, oh, you're the caretaker here. You know, not me, I'm a butler. Which that was the whole story leading into it, was, oh, we had a caretaker named Grady who murdered his wife and his 2 daughters, which are the twins. Which kind of leads me to a little, you know, again, my theory about the ending of this movie, which we'll get all into. But he tells him, hey, you gotta kill your family. And then we get into the final act, and oh my god, dude. Fucking incredible. We start with him cutting off the radio, and then first thing I gotta talk, we're gonna jump around a little bit, but we need to talk about that scene, and I'll call it the writing room, because I cannot remember what the hell it was called. But, you know, the room where he writes and shit, and Shelley finds his book, and it is just page after page after page, and line after line after line, and I'm talking like this is about 1,000 fucking pages of this from what it looks like, of Jack just saying, like, all work and no play makes Jack a dull blow. Blah, 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 blah. I knew I was gonna fuck that up. I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, you got it, you have it, and then, no, but all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Yada, yada, yada. Just over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's like, holy fuck, dude. This is what this dude has been doing the entire time he has been writing this. For the most part, I'd imagine. It's just all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And then, of course, he obviously walks in and he's like, what the hell are you doing in here? And their fucking incredible conversation where she's just completely distraught at this point, and he's yelling about his responsibilities to her, and, you know, yelling about Danny and all this shit, and just, you know, having a complete, I think a mental breakdown would be understating it. Actually, he is lost it. But yeah, man. And then eventually she's swinging the bat at him as they're walking up the stairs, and he's like, darling, honey, light of my life, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to bash your brains in. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in. Incredible shit. And obviously she's like, stay away from me, stay away from me. And she eventually, she hits him in the hand, and obviously that shit would fucking hurt. And he's like, fuck, you know, and she hits him in the head. He goes tumbling down the stairs. She locks him in the fucking freezer. And, you know, she's like, I'm gonna go get help and bring back a doctor. And he goes, oh, you're not going anywhere, because he gimmicked the snowmobile or whatever the fuck they had, and broke that thing down, so they ain't getting nowhere. And so they're hiding, and Jack is just in this fucking freezer, and then Grady's voice speaks to him, and it's like, oh, you have to, it's like, oh, we're thinking you can't get the job done now. And he's like, I can, you just gotta give me one more shot. And they go on, and again, this is pretty unrefusable evidence that this movie is in fact paranormal. I don't even know why I bring it up. Yeah, it is. Come on. Where Grady, I guess, just unlocks the freezer for Jack. Just super creepy. Very subtle. You just get that sound, but you know, holy fuck. So, like, oh my god, like, these spirits are on this dude's side. They want him to fucking murder his family. Wow, it's fucking disturbing shit. But yeah, man, and then sure enough, we obviously get him axing down the door, and we get the scene that has been repeated and quoted and parodied and all of this shit constantly, but it is obviously him, you know, axing through the door. Shelley Duvall, terrified out of her mind. Danny's already crawled out of the window by this point. And, you know, he breaks into the bathroom and he just sticks his head and, you know, what comes next? Fucking here's Johnny, you know, come on. But nonetheless, man, it is a very, very iconic, again, beautifully shot scene. I love the dialogue before of little pig, let me in. And she's, you know, screaming for her life. He's like, not by the hair of your chinny chin chin. You know, and then here's Johnny, you know, story goes on. But, yeah, we get a little more action. I love that ending of Danny being the one to truly outsmart his dad. And, which we didn't even talk about the fact that Danny becomes even more of a creepy little fucker in this movie. You know, Red Rob. Creepy little fuck, man. I love him, though. Shout out to Danny Lloyd. High school teacher now, actually. Stopped acting, and he's a high school teacher, so fucking good for him. But anyways, man. Yeah, you know, Red Rob and his mom's trying her best to take care of him. Very, very good stuff from Danny Lloyd. But him running around that big ass fucking maze when it's all snowy out, which, God, dude, how like long would something like that take to make? Like, and you see the scale of it when Jack looks at the miniature. I'm like, oh my God, dude, this thing must have taken fucking years, you know? You gotta grow all the shrubs, and I don't even fucking understand how you would go about doing that. But anyways, enough of my landscaping curiosities. But yeah, man, so he outsmarts his dad. His dad gets trapped in there. And he just fucking freezes to death, dude. Him and his mom escape in another, like, snowmobile type thing. And that's the fucking movie. And it just ends. Well, we get the last shot, obviously, which we'll get into. But just, you know, he passes out. Smash cut to him, just frozen. Just, you know, in the fucking, you know, ice and shit. Very, very brutal stuff. Also, I didn't even mention that he fucking killed, Dick Halloran at one point. You know, Dick Halloran comes back because he can sense with The Shining that something is not right. Flies all the way back to Colorado just to get a fucking axe in the chest. Holy fuck. At least you don't have to worry about paying for a flight back, right? But moving on. So, yeah, do they escape? And then we get the last shot that everyone talks about. What the fuck is with the picture at the end of the movie? It, you know, depicts Jack from the year 1920. He's from, like, the 20s, you know? AKA, long fucking time ago, even in 1980. So, doesn't make sense. Some people say that. There are theories up and down, sideways to sideways about what the fuck this means, what it is, does it have any meaning? Here's my thing. I think there are certain souls that are trapped by the Overlook Hotel. I think Jack Torrance is one of those souls. And what I mean, obviously, you know, if you're haunting something, the general idea is that you're just trapped there. I don't think that's the case, though. I think the soul of Jack Torrance and all the other lives that soul has lived, I think they are always destined to end up back at that hotel and die there. That would explain why Jack Torrance's likeness is in that picture from all those years ago. That would explain why, you know, they tell the story of Grady being the caretaker, but when Jack meets him, he is the butler. Because again, those are two different soul. I mean, it's the same soul, just two different, you know, lives that Grady guy lived. And at this point, he's just depicting his role as a, I'm about to sneeze, hold on. All right, it's gonna take me a second. Hold on. That kicked my ass more than I thought it would. Holy fuck. Anyways, that would explain the whole Grady thing of how he was a groundskeeper when they told the story. Not groundskeeper, caretaker. And now he's a fucking butler and there's, you know, visions. That's my little go around, is just, it's the same soul being reincarnated into different versions of Jack Torrance that are just destined to always end up at this hotel and constantly die there and just start over. But yeah, man, so that's my little theory. That's my thing. But at the same time, I'm totally cool with that not being the case, you know? I like the fact that this is ambiguous. I like the fact that they don't just hand feed you shit and spoon feed you shit. They don't, you know, Kubrick doesn't explain it to you. He wants you to go out like I did and think about it forever and come back and watch the movie and connect dots and make your own conclusion. I fucking really like that. I love when movies do that. I can't stand having every little fucking thing explained to me. Obviously, there are exceptions. You need certain things explained to you to have the story make any kind of sense. But I like how ambiguous this ending is. And you just go, what the fuck? And then it just ends. It's beautiful, man. But anyways, dude, well, also, before I wrap it up, we're not going to have a kill of the film section because there's only one kill in this. And it's a fucking awesome kill. It's Dick Halloran getting the axe in the chest. Totally blunt, totally brutal, totally quick. Nothing outrageous. Fucking fits this film to a T. I think it is fucking perfect. I know he doesn't die in the book. I fucking like my Dick Halloran dying, though. As I've never thought that's a sentence I would ever say. As much as I love that character, I think his death is so out of nowhere, but so fitting for the story. Fucking love it, man. I absolutely fucking love it. But anyways, man, that'll do it for my review of The Shining, guys. Horror fucking masterpiece. No other way to say it or explain it or anything. Please, 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 if for some reason you haven't seen this movie, go out and check it out. Spend your money, buy the Blu-ray, buy the 4K, sit down and just go on a ride, dude. Because I guarantee this or any other review is not going to do justice to just how beautiful this fucking movie is. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up now. I really hope you enjoyed the review, guys. Next time on Days of Darkness, we are going to be looking at Predators. Very, very excited for this. I know we're kind of going a little out of order with the order of release of these movies. But fuck it, it's what I want to do. It's the third Predator film. I wanted to kind of do the single releases before I tackle the AVP movies. Which you can draw your conclusions of what would come after Predators and the you know what I'm fucking saying. So yeah, next time we're gonna be fucking reviewing Predators. Really excited to pop that one in again, man. It's been a little bit since I've seen it, and I fucking really, really like that movie. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I'll get all into why and all that jazz, and yeah, man. So without further ado, thank you guys as always for watching. Thank you for supporting the dream, supporting the channel. Keep watching horror, take care of each other, and have a good rest of your day. All right, guys.